Bill was wanting to go down in that ditch and take a look, and we hadn't been down in that ditch in a long time. The trail got washed out a long time ago, so it's hard to get down in that ditch. But I used to enjoy hiking that ditch. I'd have my pack with me, and I would see baby owls in it and pick up owl feathers, and it was just a lot of fun to go in a ditch. But since the floodwaters don't go back in there in that ditch no more, it's getting growed up a little. And I seen it when I would go out hiking, look off it and seeing that, you know, it's getting weeds and stuff in it. So Bill, he decided this morning to go ahead and go down in it. He took Blue with him, just kind of look around. I didn't go because I still had some sweet potatoes to plant, and I've seen the pictures, and it's really gotten wide down there. I think this winter, if Bill gets a trail going, I might hike it. He wants to work on a trail, so I can go down there. It was so fun to take the pack down in there. We just had a big old time. So he just goes look around, and that way y'all can see what the ditch looks like. He said that Blue found a snake skin down there, where a snake shedded its skin, and he found a baby dead owl. We don't know what happened to it, but we know who it is, I think, but somebody used to shoot owls down there. One time he was down in there and he found an owl that's been shot, and it had a mouse in its mouth. So I guess he was taking it home to the babies. But anyway, it's nice to see that ditch again. And I sure like to hike it this winter if he gets a better trail, because that trail going down in there is super hard. And he wants to make a trail so he could ride his horse down there, but that will be a lot of work to do. But he's thinking about it. Well, anyway, I just want to show you the film of Bill hiking the ditch, and y'all can see it. So thanks for watching Out West Homestead. Bye. Bill said that before he turned back, he ran across where somebody dumped a bunch of tires in the ditch. That happens all over New Mexico, everywhere. It's nothing new. People said take them to a recycle center. I think they have to pay for it. And a company, they'll charge you for tires to take to a recycle center, but then they take them out and dump them out in the desert. That's how it is in New Mexico, and it's all over the state. People dump tires. I don't like it because they don't make it look pretty, but that's what they do. So Bill seen it, and he stopped there and then headed back.
Come out here this morning to take a look down in this arroyo or ditch. Used to take the horses right down through here, but it's caved in and there's a lot of junk dumped in there. I'm going to try to go down right over here. The wind's pretty bad this morning, so probably won't take very good, but anyway, I'm going to try to go down that way and then follow the ditch out for a ways, see what it looks like. You got to be careful about snakes down in there, and those walls will collapse every once in a while and fall into the middle. You have to watch about that. Anyway, I'm going to go down now and take a look. Well, I made it down. It's pretty hard coming down. Jake could probably make it down. He's pretty good on the bad places, but it's a lot of slide rock there, that gravel. They can lose their footing. And I'm going to go on down through the ditch and take a look and send Blue ahead. Maybe he'll scoot the bad things out of the way. Hadn't been down in here in a long time. Well, somebody put a fence up a few years ago down in here. They was running some cattle back in here, try to keep them off the road. And that's another reason we hadn't, the fence is down just about everywhere. But Susie used to like to walk down in here. That people have dumped in years past down in here. It's kind of stopped now. But we watch when people come down here at the end of the road, let them know that we're watching. And they usually leave. I had to tell one fella that dumped a load of stuff at the end of the road, I give him an hour to come back and pick it all up. He had a whole dump truck full of debris and stuff, and he didn't like it, but he came back, picked it all up, had a fit, but it didn't do him any good. There's a cave-in. Susie'd like to see this. It's kind of interesting. It would really be a place for kids to play in, but when I was a kid, we'd gravitate to something like this. Blue. Blue. That's where it's caved in from up on top, and then it's poured out here. Kind of interesting. This is just a little old side canyon or ditch. Blue! Let's go. Let's go back in here. Come on. That wind's going to be a little rough in here. It funnels through this ditch. We used to go up right there a long time ago. We hadn't been back in here in some time. There's been some cows in here that's got loose, and somebody was walking. Yeah, I don't blame them for wanting to come in here and look around, as long as they don't dump and throw their beer cans down out here. This is pretty sandy in here. There's another little crevice. That's a good place to stay out of. There's another cave in. You just got to be real careful back in here. But it's kind of interesting. There used to be a fence line right up yonder going south. This is actually, I believe this is BLM land here, and it switches over. I believe it's private property, but I know the people that have possession of it. I don't know if they own it or lease it, but the fella, when he came in here and started trying to get property several years ago and lease and buy, he told me I was welcome to cross any property he had. We used to go up here. Susie had a rope up at the top tied onto a tree because it's pretty steep, and if you look real close you can see she put some boards there to make a trail. Somebody or something's been going up in here. Maybe the kids up the road. They used to play in here. I thought their folks tried to keep them out of here because it's, you gotta really watch for snakes back in here. Those power lines is over by the house, so I'm pretty close to the house back close to the house now. I'll have to make that steep trail a little bit better where I can get Jake down in here. Take him down in here. The fella that turned that into a hayfield, that's when we started getting a lot of rattlesnakes too. He was going to fill all this in, but it would just cost him so much to try to get dirt in here and clean it up that he gave up on about 10 acres of it, and he stopped his field up there a little ways. Look, a lot of debris. There's a little structure up here, probably the local kids up the road. That, I don't know what that is. Some kind of a toolbox. Kids probably found it in here. They used to come down in here quite a bit. Looks like they tried to make them a little structure right there. I've done the same kind of stuff when I was a kid. But I'm going to turn and go back down into the main canyon. There's a pretty good hole there, but that's just a cave-in. The owls I don't think they would go back in there, mainly because there's access from the top and coyotes will come in there and get their eggs or their babies. That goes on around, but I don't too much trust that right there. We have a lot of sonic booms, and that could drop anytime. I'm not as brave as I once was. Let's go, Blue. I'll pick this up on down the ditch. Heading out. Yeah. Blue found a carcass of a dead owl here. If I can get focused, yeah. I think he was wanting to try to eat it, but a few years ago, when I used to come down here, still yet on horses, we used to come down here and just take pictures of the owls and not bother them. Some of them were white, snow white. But anyway, I was finding evidence of somebody shooting them. I think I know who it is. I couldn't prove it. But it finally stopped. But I think they were shooting the owls. A new resident in the area for whatever reason. But this might not have been that. But this is a young one. There's the beak. But anyway, I think it stopped. So maybe it won't happen again. This is a limb been hanging out there for a long time, and we've seen a lot of owls and hawks sitting on that in years past. Down in here, I've seen one a while ago. It flew before I had the camera on. It come out of one of the crevices. They're just looking for a place to sleep during the day. We're going to go a little bit farther, and then we're going to head on back. Save it for Susie. This is an erosion area right here on this wall. If that stays there long enough, that'll eventually turn to stone. It takes probably hundreds and thousands of years. But this is kind of the way some of the stuff up in Utah got, according to the experts, how it started out. But you got to be really careful around this because it could collapse right on top of you back in there. A lot of evidence of owls right here. It's pretty quiet down in here. It's a nice peaceful area. You just have to be careful. There's another owl's nest there. I don't think there's anything in it. That's where they raise their babies. And they try to put them where at least coyotes or bobcats. There's a lot of bobcats around here. Can't get in there to bother them. They still do sometimes, but for the most part they're pretty good at putting them in inaccessible places for people like Blue that want to get eggs. That right there is salt cedar. They're really taking over in different places in the state. They're trying to eradicate them, I think. The state is, or maybe the feds, I don't know. But you can see the root system on one of those, how deep they go. And they claim they consume a lot of water. They have a good fragrance in the springtime when they bloom. They smell good, kind of like a China berry, similar. They smell real good, but there's a lot of them. There used to be a lot more really in this area, but when they got the levee repaired and the water doesn't run like it used to down there, they're not as prolific. That's a good word. But anyway, there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of evidence of the owls back in here. There's probably a nest up there. The babies should be pretty well out by now, this time of year. But I'll move on down. Maybe I'll see one. They tend to come back in here during the day and get in a dark place and sleep. Here's just what I was talking about earlier. It's a recent slide. You're walking under there close to that wall, you wouldn't survive that. They look like big dirt clods, but they're pretty solid. And that happens, we used to get a lot more of them. At one time, a few years ago, they had those F-22 Raptors in this area, and they really boomed a lot. They're a supersonic jet, I believe. And we used to get a lot of these. We'd hear them back at the house falling. And the horses would jump. If they were close to this area, they'd spook them a little bit. Blue's having a good time. He needs exercise too.